everyone, and welcome to the Jack Vision channel. In this video, we're going to be ranking every NHL team's best defenseman. This isn't going to just be which player is the best offensively, but we'll be heavily considering their defensive ability as well. C on this list is a serviceable number one, so kind of like you're our best defenseman. You're not the best of the best in the league, but you are still good. You are still a valid number one defenseman. So if anything below that is probably better fitted for a second or third pairing defenseman, or I guess like the second best defenseman on the team, and anything above C are different levels of a 1D. So with that said, let's get into it with the Anaheim Ducks and Jackson Lacombe. Lacombe is 25 years old. He has 82 games played last season, 10 goals, 48 assists, and 58 points. I know that points aren't the most important factor of a defender, but I still like to just kind of give a little rundown of every player and what their scoring input was last season. And for Lacombe, I think he is a gold medalist. he was riding the bench during the Olympics for the US team, and he is a gold medalist. And I think he's a very good C tier player. I think the Ducks are very happy with him being their 1D right now. He still has a lot of room to improve. He's only 25 years old. Defenders get better later. So him being 25 years old and as good as he is now and being a leader on the team, I feel like he's a very, very, very serviceable 1D in the league. Next up is the Boston Bruins with Charlie McAvoy. McAvoy, who had a few really, really great seasons in the league, but I feel like the last couple of years, his production has just not been where it was at his peak. He's still good. He's still good. But I think similar to Lacombe, you wouldn't mind having someone a little bit better than them on your first line. Charlie McAvoy last year was 28 years old, had 69 games played, 11 goals, 50 assists, and 61 points. Still, the production is very, very good, but he's also on a team with David Pastrnak, who is a production machine. Hopefully, one of my next videos will be ranking every team's top winger, and Pastrnak is one of the most underrated wingers in the league, so that's besides the point. Charlie McAvoy, I think also like Lacombe, you probably prefer someone a little better, but still very, very serviceable. Next up, though, is the Buffalo Sabres' Rasmus Dahlin, who is 26 years old, had 77 games played last season, 19 goals, 55 assists, and 74 points. Rasmus Dahlin, to me, is one of the best of the best. I'm really, really torn between A and S tier. He's good on both sides. He had a 74-point season. That's very, very good, especially with what he was going through last year with his wife. He's just a very, very tough, resilient player. But I think, S is for like the best. I have like three players in mind that are going to be in S tier, and I think Dahlin is just slightly below them. I think his offensive production is a little less than theirs, and I think that just keeps him being out of S tier. For me, he's very, very good defensively, but to me, he's still A tier. Next up is the Calgary Flames with Simon Nemec. I guess it's Simon Nemec. It was between Middleton, Ball, and Nemec. I feel bad every time I do one of these videos. Last video with the Senators, I had to put Morgan Frost in F tier, and I think I'm putting Simon Nemec in F tier too. He's 22 years old. He has 68 games played last season, 11 goals, 15 assists, and 26 points. Nemec is very, very young for a defenseman, only 22, and has just not figured it out yet. He just signed a big deal with the Flames, so I'm hoping. I think my reason for putting him as their best defenseman right now is because I hope for Flames fans that by next season he grows enough to be your number one defenseman. But as of right now, he is unfortunately an F tier in my opinion. I think the Flames have a lot of figuring out to do with their offense and defense. Luckily, they have Dustin Wolf in net, so they have the goalie situation figured out. But everything else is a bit of a show, if you know what I mean. Next up, though, is the Carolina Hurricanes' Jacob Slavin, who last season was 32 years old, had 39 games played, 1 goal, 7 assists, and 8 points. Slavin is not a huge offensive producer, but he is the best defensive defenseman in the league, and that puts him in A tier for me. A lot of people talk about introducing a trophy for the best defensive defenseman every single year. The problem is, I think that Jacob Slavin would just win it every single year. So what is the point of introducing a trophy that the same guy will win every year? It would be cool if, Jacob Slavin was a 5-time defensive defenseman of the year by now. I wonder what it'd be called. Because I know a lot of people for like the Norris, they want to have like a Bobby Orr trophy for best offensive defenseman, and then the Norris stays like defensive defenseman. But if they instead kept the Norris for most offensive defenseman and then had a separate defensive defenseman trophy, I wonder who it would be named after. Let me know in the comments below who is your pick for the best defensive defenseman, I guess of all time, and who you'd want the trophy named after. Next up, though, that was a rant, but Jacob Slavin is A tier in my opinion. He is like a 100 overall defensively, even if he doesn't have the offensive production. He is so good defensively that it puts him into A tier. Next up is the Chicago Blackhawks with Bowen Byram, who is 25 years old. Last season, he had 82 games played, 11 goals, 31 assists, and 42 points. And Byram, to me, he's D tier. Like he's getting paid a lot more than a lot of these other guys. But to me, he was a second line defenseman on the Sabres, and he's never been a first line defenseman before. Even though I am a Hawks fan, and I'm hoping that he's can turn it up and be a great first line defenseman. He hasn't proven that in the league yet. He's better than a guy like Nemec, so I'll put him in D tier. But Byram is someone who has been a second line defender so far in his career, and he has the opportunity next year to prove that he deserves to be on the first line, but he hasn't done it yet. So Byram is D tier for me. Next up is the Colorado Avalanche with Cale Makar, who is 27 years old, had 75 games played last season, 20 goals, 59 assists, and 79 points. I mean, come on. Makar is S tier. His offensive production is insane. His creativity is amazing. His playmaking is amazing. And unlike a lot of these other offensive defensemen that we're going to see on the list, he also puts in time on the penalty kill. Not a ton of time, but he's like up there having like 2 minutes a game of penalty kill time, while a lot of these other offensive guys don't even hop on the penalty kill at all. So for that, Makar, for me, is a definitive S tier. And we'll get to some other players later, but there's a good chance that he stays as the highest rated defenseman on this list. Next up, though, is technically the highest rated defenseman last year, Zach Werenski, who is 28 years old, had 75 games played, 22 goals, 49 assists, and 81 points. And he won the Norris Trophy. And I think, even though he won the Norris, I don't think he's as good as Cale Makar right now. I think he's still an S tier defenseman. He's very, very good. Columbus, it was kind of scary when it seemed like he was going to leave the team. But either way, he's an S tier defender. He produces like crazy. He works his ass off playing D. And I just don't think, we'll get to Quinn Hughes later, I don't think Werenski is on the level of Hughes and Makar. But I still think he is very, very good and really a star in this league. Speaking of stars, the Dallas Stars had Miro Heiskanen as their best defenseman last season, who was 26 years old, had 77 games played, 9 goals, 54 assists, and 63 points. Heiskanen is a guy, too, that a few years ago, it seemed like he would be on that Makar and Hughes level. But his production maybe not his production, but the upward swing of his career just didn't keep going as people expected it. And to me, he's a B tier defenseman. I think he's very, very serviceable. He's very, very good on the Stars. But I think the Stars, wanting to be a Stanley Cup winning team, I think Heiskanen getting even better or having someone better than Heiskanen to be paired with him would push that team up that extra level to actually be a Stanley Cup winner. But for now, Heiskanen is a B, in my opinion. Next up is the Detroit Red Wings with Mo Seider, who was 25 years old, had 82 games played last season, 10 goals, 50 assists, 60 points. Mo Seider is a complete monster. If you don't know about Mo Seider, start getting to know him. So good offensively, great defensively. He is the best player on the Detroit Red Wings. He's a defenseman that you could build your team around. He's just so good, and he's already such a huge part of that team. They're losing Larkin, but luckily, a guy like Seider seems to be pretty committed to staying in Detroit, and I think that is a huge plus for the Red Wings. And to me, Mo Seider is in that A tier of guys. Not as good as Slavin. Slavin is so good defensively. It's going to be you have to be close to him defensively, along with the offensive production to be above him. But Seider is an A tier for me. Next up is the Edmonton Oilers with Evan Bouchard, who is 26 years old. Last season, he had 82 games played, 21 goals, 74 assists, and 95 points. Just monstrous production offensively for him for a defender. He's A tier as well. Um, he makes a lot of mistakes defensively. He's like a goofs and gaffs kind of player where he is so good offensively, but sometimes he just has those huge mistakes. He also plays with the two best players in the league, so I think Bouchard for me, I'll put him above Seider. Bouchard had. Do I put him above Seider? Yeah, Bouchard's above. I mean, 95 points as a defender, no matter who you're playing with. That's super impressive. He has a great shot on him. He had over 20 goals. That's a great performance for me. And Bouchard goes in A tier for the amazing year he just had. Next up is the Florida Panthers' Gustav Forsling, who was 30 years old, had 80 games played, 2 goals and 26 assists for 28 points, and he is a super good defensive player as well. Similar to Slavin, he doesn't produce as much, with only 28 points, 2 goals only on the year. And I think because of that, he sits in B tier for me. He's kind of like a Slavin light. That's very offensive. I feel bad saying that. But to me, he's like Slavin, but not as good. I think he's been good for the Panthers so far in their runs to the finals, but I think you would prefer a little better of a defender, of a top defender at least on your team. Panthers are so good with their depth on D that Forsling doesn't have to be like the best in the world for them to be successful. Next up is the LA Kings with Drew Doughty, who was 36 years old, had 72 games played last season, 5 goals, 18 assists. And I don't love Drew Doughty as your best defenseman. 36 years old. He's really up there. We saw in the Olympics, he wasn't great. He's just not. I mean, LA needs to figure it out on D because him and Mikey Anderson are not. They're not going to be able to bring you to the playoffs or bring you through the playoffs like you want them to. Kind of between D and F right now. That's not. I'm struggling with this one. I feel bad putting him in F, but I think he is. I think you want Doughty as like your second line defender. Honestly, yeah, I don't like Byram. I feel like can be like he could be a first line defender if he has someone good on his right D. But Doughty, I think you want him on your second line no matter what. Basically, I'm sorry, Doughty. I'm sorry, Kings fans. Doughty's he's 36 years old, and he had 23 points last season. It's hard to justify him being very high on this list. Someone who we can justify being high on the list, though, is the Minnesota Wild with Quinn Hughes, who is 26 years old, had 74 games played last season, 7 goals, 69 assists, and 76 points. And to me, I think if you ask me in their career who was better, Quinn Hughes or Zach Werenski, I would say Hughes. But I think I don't know. Last season as a whole, Quinn had those games where he was still in the Canucks and he was not playing good. When he wasn't on a playoff team, he wasn't playing good. Werenski was on a non-playoff team all season long, and he still was very, very good. So for this season, I am putting Werenski higher than Hughes. Hughes all time, and probably next season will be better than Werenski. But to me, Werenski had such a good season. He has such good momentum. If he actually is committed to Columbus, and Columbus is able to make some good changes, I think he can have another Norris caliber season. So for this year, I'm putting Werenski ahead of Quinn Hughes. Next up is the Montreal Canadiens with Lane Hutson, who was 22 years old, had 12 goals and 66 assists last season for 78 points. And Hudson, to me, he's either an A or a B. He's on the upper echelon for sure. Doesn't play on the PK. I think he's the highest end of B tier. I like Hudson a lot. The things that are keeping me away from putting him A tier is he doesn't play on the PK. The PK he's not as defensive as you want him to be. He doesn't throw the body. He's not super physical. I know that's because of his size, but stuff like that just keeps him lower on the list for me than some of these other guys. Next up is the Nashville Predators with Roman Josi, who is 36 years old, had 68 games played last season, 13 goals, 42 assists, and 55 points. And for me, Josi is still a serviceable defenseman. He's still a C tier, probably lower C tier. He still can defend really well. He's older too. He's 36 years old. But I just think I think he's a solid first line defenseman. So I will keep him at C tier. Shout out to Nashville. Next up is the New Jersey Devils with Dougie Hamilton, who was 33 years old, had 77 games played last season, 12 goals, 27 assists, and 37 points. And you want someone better than Dougie Hamilton on your first line. So I'm putting Dougie in D tier. He's better than Byram because he's been a first line defender in his career. Byram has never proven that he can be a first line defenseman. So Dougie, yeah, he's high D for me. Luke Hughes, hopefully coming up. Hopefully we'll take the best defenseman on the Devils spot. But right now, I still think it's Dougie Hamilton, and I still think you want someone better than him as your first line defenseman. Next up is the New York Islanders with Shafe Daddy Matthew Schaefer. He is 18 years old. Last season played 82 games, had 23 goals, 36 assists, and 59 points. He has some maturing to do, and he's not as effective on the power play and penalty kill as you probably want him to be. So for me, he's still in B tier. Yeah, he has maturing to do. He has growing to. I think he's like the lower end of B tier. I like Schaefer a lot. I think he had such a good rookie season, one of the best ever, and he's going to be. I'd imagine he's probably going to be S tier by the end of his career, or in a few years. But now he has the maturing to do, and defense is a position where maturing and getting older helps you a lot. So for me, Schaefer's here. By next season, he could already be up in A tier, but to me, he's the lower end of B tier. Next up is the New York Rangers with Adam Fox, who was 28 years old, had 55 games played last season, 9 goals, 44 assists, and 53 points. Adam Fox, who was injured for a lot of last season, but is still a very, very good player. I mean, he's almost a point per game. One of the most underrated players in the league because I feel like he won the Norris 5 or 6 years ago, and the Rangers just kind of not many people like I feel like people don't watch Rangers games that much, unless you're like your favorite team is in the Metro. But Fox to me is very, very good. I think he was injured last year. He only had 53 points, but I think I'm going to put him right between Seider and Bouchard. I think he's still better overall than Seider. Slavin, I'm still holding up there because of his defensive ability. Bouchard had 95 points, which is very hard to justify putting Fox higher because of that. Next up, though, is the Ottawa Senators with Jake Sanderson, who was 24 years old, had 67 games played last season, 14 goals, 40 assists, and 54 points. Sanderson is really, really good. I like him a lot. He's such a good player. He's an American on Ottawa, which makes me kind of scared if I was a Senators fan. If I was the Senators, I wouldn't sign an American for like 20 years, honestly. But Sanderson right now, he seems committed to Ottawa. He's on par with Seider. Do I want to put him above or below Seider? Is he older or younger than Seider? He's like 1 year younger. I'll put him below Seider. I like a lot of these defenders, he has like a little more growing to do to really become that perfect first line D, but still a very, very good player. And I think super underrated too, because I feel like people don't watch a lot of Ottawa games. So keep Jake Sanderson in mind when you're thinking of the best players in the league. Next up is the Philadelphia Flyers with Travis Sanheim, who is 30 years old, had 81 games played last season, 11 goals, 26 and 37 points. Sanheim, who was I think he was on Team Canada, right? I hope he's Canadian. That's horrible if I'm misremembering that. But to me, Sanheim he's very good, a very balanced defender. I would say I think high B. Can I even put high B? I think he's at the high end of the B tier. I think he's better right now than someone like Lane Hudson or Miro Heiskanen, but I don't think he is as good as some of these other A tier guys. Next up is the Pittsburgh Penguins with Erik Karlsson, who is 36 years old, had 75 games played last season, 15 goals, 51 assists, and 66 points. Karlsson last year had one of his best seasons in a long time. If you were watching Penguins games, he just had sometimes where he popped off and went crazy. But he is still 36 years old, and he has that good point production, but defensively he's just not as reliable as you want him to be. So to me, Karlsson is in C tier. think I put him below Yossi. Like Yossi still has decent production. I mean, he still had 55 points, and I think Yossi's also better defensively. So Yossi stays higher for me. Next up is the San Jose Sharks with their newest defensive acquisition. I guess not newest, but one of their new acquisitions, Jacob Trouba, who was 32 years old, had 81 games played last season, 10 goals, 25 assists, and 35 points. I don't love Trouba as a number one defenseman right now. He produced 35 points. He's not as good offensively as you want, and I don't think he's as good defensively as you want. He throws a body, which is really good, which kind of makes you want to put him in D tier. I don't know. Like Ducks had to get Carlson to replace him because he wasn't good enough last season. Where do I put Trouba? F or D? I feel bad. I think you prefer. You prefer him as a second line defenseman right now. I don't think he's very good. Sorry guys. sorry Sharks. Sharks fans are gonna be mad at me. Sharks fans are always gonna be mad at me over something. Because I put Suzuki over Celebrini, and they're gonna be mad that I put Trouba in F right now. I don't hate the Sharks, but I don't love Trouba as a first line defenseman. Also, I accidentally put Doughty lower than Nemec. Doughty, no, I think I like Trouba more than Doughty. But yeah, Trouba to me is just doesn't have that level of play anymore. Like he's very, very physical, and I think the Sharks are gonna love that. But you want a physical defenseman in your bottom four though. You don't want your like physical guy that doesn't produce that much and isn't great defensively on your top two, let alone being your best defenseman. So to me, Trouba is in F tier. Next up is the Seattle Kraken with Adam Larsson, who was 33 years old, had 82 games played last season, 7 goals, 18 assists, and 25 points. Larsson is, to me, bottom of D tier. He doesn't produce that much offensively. He's better than these two old guys down here, and Nemec defensively, though. So I think that puts him into D tier. Next up is the St. Louis Blues with Philip Broberg, who was 25 years old, had 81 games played, 6 goals, 28 assists, and 34 points. Broberg has been so good since he joined the Blues. He's an absolute killer defensively and does not get nearly enough love. A lot of the St. Louis players I talk about don't get the love they deserve. As someone whose favorite team is in the Central Division, I see these guys a lot, and Broberg is very, very good. The Oilers probably don't feel good about moving on from this guy. Broberg, to me, he's very good defensively. He doesn't have the production for a top defenseman that you want. So to me, he's high C tier. Again, I think St. Louis is very, very happy with this guy and how he plays. And someone who is very, very similar to that is the Tampa Bay Lightning with J.J. Moser, who is 26 years old, had 79 games played last season, 7 goals, 29 assists, and 36 points. Moser is in the same category as Broberg. He's 1 year older. He's very, very good defensively. Where do I want to put him? He had 2 more points than Broberg. He's a year older. He had 2 less games played. Very, very good defensively. But I think, I'm sorry, Broberg. I think Moser is like one tick above Broberg right now. He has that extra year of marinating. He's 1 year older, and I think he just slightly crosses that line from C tier to B tier. So to me, J.J. Moser is a B tier defenseman. Next up is the Toronto Maple Leafs with Darren Raddysh, who I believe was Moser's defensive partner. Raddysh is 30 years old. Last year he had 73 games played, 22 goals, 48 assists, and 70 points. Just an absolute monster season from Raddysh. His production was crazy. Just like a blue collar player. Like I love how he plays. But he's very good offensively. The defense is lacking. I think Toronto's gonna absolutely love this guy. But I think, where do I put him? I think he's a B tier. Where do I put Raddysh? Like a huge breakout season for him. He just gets better every year so far. I don't think he's gonna fall off next year, but I think it makes sense to put him right next to a defensive partner, J.J. Moser. I think Raddysh is a little bit better just because of his offensive production, and he's serviceable defensively. Yeah, that works for me. Raddysh is a B. I like that. I like that. Next up is the Utah Mammoth with Mikhail Sergachev, 28 years old, 78 games played, 10 goals, 49 assists, and 59 points. To me, Sergachev is like the epitome of a, yeah, we like this guy defenseman. Like, uh, yeah, we could have a better defenseman, but Sergachev is perfectly serviceable. He's a solid number one defenseman. Ever since he's was good on Tampa in his last couple of years there, he was almost their number one defenseman. And since he went to Utah, he's been able to really flourish as a number one defenseman. He produces statistically, and he plays good defense as well. I think I'd probably put him lower than Broberg, just because he had 59 points. That's a lot of points. But defensively, Broberg is better than Sergachev, and I think I would keep him above Sergachev. That makes sense and looks right to me. Next up is the Vancouver Canucks with Filip Hronek, 28 years old, 82 games played, 8 goals, 41 assists, and 49 points. I like Hronek, but I don't think you'd want him as a first line defense. I mean, he literally was second to Quinn Hughes. Ugh, I feel bad, but I think Hronek is like top end of D tier. Like he was second to Quinn Hughes. I think he fits best as the second best defenseman on a pairing, and I hope that Vancouver can get someone. I mean, I was gonna say get someone to replace Hughes, which is basically impossible unless you get Werenski or Makar. But either way, I think Hronek fits at the high end of D tier. You just prefer him to be a. I'm looking at this list. Carlson here. I think I also move Carlson down. I think Carlson also goes to D tier. No one said these picks were stuck where they were. Carlson, he produced well, but I think he goes here. Maybe even Byram too. Hawks are my team, but I think Byram goes into F as well, just because, like, I can't. In my head, C is a good 1D. D is a you prefer them to be the second best defender on the first line, and F is like a second line defenseman. And Byram has been a second line defenseman, so I think being an F makes sense for him to be there. Sorry, Byram. And Hronek is the high end of D because I think you'd prefer someone else be better than him with him on his line. Next up, though, moving on, is the Vegas Golden Knights with Shea Theodore, who is 30 years old, had 70 games played, 10 goals, 29 assists, and 39 points. He didn't produce great offensively this year, and he's not as good defensively as you prefer either. So to me, he's a D tier. I think the Knights are underestimating their defense. McNabb was so good in the playoffs, and I think that really helped Theodore because I don't think Theodore was as good as you want him to be. Honestly, and I think Anderson wasn't good in the playoffs either. So hopefully if you're a Knights fan, hopefully your defense gets it together, but in the playoffs, I really don't think your defense was as good as you want them to be. Next up is the Washington Capitals with Jacob Chikrin, who is 28 years old, had 80 games played, 26 goals, 34 assists for 60 points. And he's a C tier for me. He's been very good for Washington. He's great offensively, but not nearly as effective defensively as you want, in my opinion. I think, with 60 points, he's for sure in. Is he in B tier? I think he might be high end of C tier. I think, yeah, he's just not, like, Washington relies on him. He's like a completely offensive player. He hardly even, he just like completely lean into the offense, and that's why he has the point production he has. But I don't think, like, even Lacombe, I like Lacombe more than him. I think I put Chikrin at the end of C tier. Maybe Yossi's worse. Yossi's old. Yossi is such a balanced player, but he is older, so I think I put him lower than Chikrin here. That makes sense. And finally, with the final player of this list is the Winnipeg Jets, Jacob Morrissey, who was 31 years old last year, had 77 games played, 14 goals, 41 assists, and 55 points. He's been so good offensively for 4 years, but his point totals have been kind of dipping every season. And as Winnipeg gets worse, it seems like he's kind of falling down with them. And to me, Morrissey is also in a C tier. In other years and years prior, he would definitely be higher, but I don't think he's been as good as you want him to be for the last year or two. And that is my ranking of every team's best defender. Please comment your thoughts below. Even if a lot of the comments complain about where I put people, but I even appreciate that. Any thoughts that you have about the list is appreciated. This is a community. If you're mad at me and you want to make fun of me where I put someone, that's the point. We're all hockey fans at the end of the day, and we all want to talk about hockey and shit talk each other because of our hockey opinions. So yeah, leave your comments down below on what you think. Like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more.